On today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides, we'll talk about topics like a limestone mine slowing down federal government employees from being retired. We'll ask the question, should non-citizens be able to vote in a New York City election? We'll also ask more questions like, how did Senator Warren's net worth get so high? Is bureaucracy killing our government? Should Ukraine join NATO? And what is Donald Trump's hostage deadline gonna look like come Saturday? All that and much more coming up on America Unfiltered, episode 23 with James Pascalides, starting now.
The moment is here. This is our moment.
America, we are back, baby. Welcome to episode 23 of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides. I talked to you guys about my topics already a little bit today. I'm gonna dive right on into them for you. First, I want to talk about a video. I'm going to play the video for you guys. It's of Elon Musk meeting with Donald Trump in the White House, in the Oval Office, and it talks about why it is so slow for firing and retiring federal employees. So the reason's actually going to shock you. It has nothing to do with lazy employees, has nothing to do with what you would think it has to. I'm going to play the video for you guys and we'll pick it apart right after.
We're told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire.
I don't know what you guys are thinking, but that's one of the most ridiculous things I think I've ever heard. The fact that in this day and age, when we have AI technology, iPhones, iPads, just all the various technology we have, software systems, coders, why are we doing all these things by hand in a limestone mine? I'm going to pop up a picture of what this limestone mine actually looks like for you guys just right here. Like, isn't that ridiculous? Isn't it ridiculous that this is, in 2025, this is what our federal government is still using to handle retiring and firing these federal employees? Obviously, this is extremely outdated. This is something that Elon Musk, the Department of Government Efficiency, Donald Trump, they can handle in creating a new system, a more efficient and effective system. But the fact that it comes down to the speed of which the elevator shaft can go up and down into this landmine, and sometimes the shaft breaks, is ridiculous. It just goes to show that our government has no problem wasting the taxpayers' time and money with things like this. They don't even think about the taxpayer for the most part. They're just trying to, I don't know what they tried to accomplish building this or keeping this around. I don't know who. The fact that it's 2025 and we're just hearing about this, that this is the way our government does these things, goes to show the point that the transparency between the government and the people is not there. And there's another clip of Elon Musk that I want to show you guys from the same meeting between him and Donald Trump, where he kind of talks about that. He talks about the trust between the American people and the federal government and how bureaucrats are getting in the way of that. So I'm going to pop that clip up for you guys right now real quick.
But you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And if you looked at this, if you asked the founders today and said, "What do you think of the way things have turned out?" Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want, and it's not. It does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit. And if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense.
I've talked about this a lot before, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it right now, but I'm such a big fan of Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency. I think it's one of the best ideas the president has had, especially since I've been alive. I really think the idea of making our government more efficient and spending our taxpayer dollars better for the American people should not only just be a given that our government always does, but the fact that it got so far off that we needed this agency, I'm very glad and I'm very thankful that Elon Musk is doing this job. Like I said, I'm not going to dive too far into this because I talk about the Department of Government Efficiency almost every day in these. But I do want to get on to some of our next topics. I have a few different videos I want to show you guys today, so we're going to get into our next one. I want to pop up this video of Senator Elizabeth Warren being questioned by a reporter where he talks about her net worth and things like that. She also gives him a little elbow shove in this, which I think is completely overblown. I think that part of it's pretty stupid, but I really do think it's interesting, him questioning on her net worth, and I want to play that clip for you guys.
To shut down.
So Senator Warren, why are you so afraid of transparency? Why are you bothered by the fact that Elon Musk is attempting to expose all of this fraudulent spending? What is that about? What is the problem here? What is the problem with transparency? Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Senator Warren, I just want to answer a question. How did you get a $12 million net worth on a $200,000 salary in Congress?
Thank you.
How did you do that?
Excuse me.
How did you do that? You can keep trying to block my camera. We're on a public sidewalk, so get off of me. So you don't want to answer that question. What is it about Doge that's such a problem to you? You just elbowed me, Senator. I got that on camera.
Excuse us. Thank you.
Transparency is your enemy.
Like I said, I really think the little elbow shove thing was completely overblown, but I do love that Nick Sorter asked the tough questions, that he's continuously pushing on Elizabeth Warren, asking her, how do you have a $12 million net worth, but your salary is nowhere close to that? It's a question that a lot of more American people should be asking, how people in our government have so much money when their salaries don't equate to that. And I'm going to read off some for you guys that I really strike a nerve in me. So Rick Scott, a Republican from Florida, his net worth is $550 million on a $200,000 a year annual salary. I don't understand how that's possible. Mitt Romney, a Republican from Utah, this one makes a little more sense because he's had a career in business, but still, a net worth of $234 million on a $174,000 a year salary. Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, $214 million net worth, $174,000 a year salary. Nancy Pelosi, $2.5 million net worth, $223,000 annual salary. I could go on this list for a very long time of people in our government who have net worths in the hundred millions, or, I mean, even just net worth in the high millions. It's pretty insane when your salary is under $250,000 a year. I don't understand how that's possible, unless you're taking kickbacks, bribes, you're doing things that either are legal that shouldn't be, or just things that are completely illegal. Whatever it is, I love that Nick Sorter is asking these tough questions, pushing Elizabeth Warren to answer them, even though she never will. The same way Nancy Pelosi will never say that stock trading while you're voting on the things that you're trading on is insider trading, even though it is. Nancy Pelosi has a higher trade return than Warren Buffett, making her one of the best traders in the world. I don't understand why she would pick a role in government if she was that good of a trader. Maybe she's just not actually that good of a trader and she's using insider trade information from her government position. That seems like the more obvious answer. So I really think it's despicable how people in our government get away with insider trading, get away with just stacking high net worths under low salaries by, like I said, whether it's kickbacks, illegal or legal things they're doing. I don't think that people in our government should be able to build high net worths like this because I think it builds corruption. And I think that's a statement that I believe the majority of Americans could get behind. I would like to hear your guys' opinions on that as well. Feel free to comment, message me on what you think. I always love to hear what my listeners are thinking about the things I'm saying. And I want to get into one of our next topics here. I want to show a video, and this is a video of Donald Trump speaking to the press about the hostages being held by Hamas.
As far as I'm concerned, if all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off, and let hell break out. I'd say they ought to be returned by 12 o'clock on Saturday, and if they're not returned, all of them, not in drips and drabs, not 2 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 2. Saturday at 12 o'clock, and after that, I would say all hell is going to break out. And I don't think they're going to do it. I think a lot of them are dead. I think a lot of the hostages are dead. I think it's a great human tragedy what's happened, how people can be that mean to do. I mean, the one guy was laughing when a hostage, he thought his family was alive, found out the family was dead, and his captor, so to speak, started laughing because he thought it was so funny. You know, this is a different group of people. No, I would say Saturday at 12, we want them all back. I'm speaking for myself. Israel can override it. But from myself, Saturday at 12 o'clock, and if they're not here, all hell is going to break out.
You say all hell is going to break loose. Are you speaking about retaliation from
You'll
Israel?
find out,
Okay.
and they'll find out too. Hamas will find out what I mean.
Mr. President, with the
They're going to find out what I mean. These are sick people, and they'll find out what I mean Saturday at 12.
I want to take a second and pray for all the hostages who are currently being held by Hamas. I pray for the release of them. I hope that Donald Trump's threat to Hamas saying that all hell will break loose in the world if they're not released Saturday by noon. I think that's a great way for him to have put it, to not give a ton of answers, be pretty vague with Hamas, and just let them know that they do know the strength of Donald Trump. Because like he said in the video, he doesn't even believe all the hostages are still alive. He thinks that Hamas is lying and that there's no way that they will release them all by Saturday at noon, because in his eyes, most of them aren't still alive. I pray they are. I pray for the families they are and for them they are. I don't know if they are. As we get more information, I'm obviously going to keep you guys updated. I'm hoping that there will be some sort of White House press briefing on this topic as well. During the next press briefing, I'm sure they will talk about it. They have been great about communicating to the American people with Caroline Leavitt, the new press secretary. But I love that we have a president who is standing up to these terrorist organizations, who is willing to put the American people first, willing to do whatever he has to do to get the hostages out. Donald Trump is a man of his word, one of the greatest negotiators in the world, and an excellent businessman. And if Donald Trump sees this as the best way to negotiate the hostages out of Hamas, I completely trust and support Donald Trump that he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's doing the right thing for these hostages and for their families. I pray that the hostages are still alive. If they're not, I really hope Donald Trump does have a swift, quick response. And I don't know, this is definitely going to be a pretty crazy week around the world, given the fact that either we're going to have hostages released, which will be amazing for the families and the hostages, or we're going to have some sort of conflict in the world, whether it's a drone strike, missile, boots on the ground, whatever it is. We will have some sort of retaliation if Hamas does not abide by Trump's word that he said. 12 o'clock on Saturday, if the hostages are not released, all hell will break loose in the world. I love that we have a president who, like, again, is just a strong president who's willing to not let anybody walk over him, not let anybody tell him what he can or can't do. I think it's exactly what America needed, and it's imperative for the future success of America that we have a leader like Donald Trump, or with the mindset that he currently has. I want to get into our next topic today. I want to actually show you guys another video. This is a video of Fox News clip where they talk about the potential of non-citizens to vote in an election in the United States, which is obviously something that should never even be considered.
New York's top court set to consider non-citizen voting in New York City elections today. Get this. Non-citizens, you don't belong here, you're not registered, blowing off court appearance, doesn't matter. That would add 800,000 non-citizen voters. Why is this even a discussion?
It shouldn't be. New York Republicans fought back against this effort several years ago. We were victorious in the lower court and the appellate division, and now it goes to the Court of Appeals. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit concerned because the New York Court of Appeals has been corrupted by Kathy Hochul and New York Democrats. This is why they tried to gerrymander our maps again last year. They added people who are way too progressive for the court to try and move the court in a different direction. I am concerned, certainly, that the Court of Appeals will make a political decision and not follow the Constitution. It is very clear. Non-citizens do not have the right to vote in our elections, period. There's a reason New York is a sanctuary state and city, though. And the reason is they want illegal immigrants counted as part of the census. That gives them more congressional seats and it gives them more electoral votes. That's what this all boils down to. They want them to be able to vote in our elections. I fundamentally believe that it is wrong. It violates both the U.S. and New York State constitutions and needs to be prohibited. And if the court had any courage or any conviction at all, it will reject this outright today.
You would think, because they want to loosen up that. Next thing you know, non-citizens voting in general elections. They'll figure out a way to do that. You know what I think it is? Republicans getting very close in New York to winning a lot of traditional Democratic seats, maybe even the governor's mansion. And they got to start letting everybody know that we're going to have to maybe bend the rules a little to stay in power.
The way he said it right there in that clip is almost as good as you can. It would be a direct violation of our Constitution to allow non-citizens, illegal immigrants, to vote in our elections. It would not only vastly sway the Democratic vote, because Democrats are the ones just giving illegals free things over giving American citizens anything, but beyond that, it's just a completely insane idea that I feel like we live in a simulation when you're telling me that this is being voted on in the courts, that this is something that the courts are even wasting their time with. Are you kidding me? Like, something that's a clear, direct violation of the Constitution shouldn't be talked about in an American court as, like, what? Where have we gotten in the world that this is a topic? Where have we gotten in the world that we're like, yeah, like, you don't live here, you're not a citizen of this country, but yeah, just come vote in our elections. Like, do I get to show up to Italy and vote in theirs? Do I get to show up to Germany and vote in theirs? Do I go to China and vote in theirs? Do I go to all these other countries and vote in their elections? No, because I'm an American citizen. I vote in American elections. So if you're a Mexican, if you're a Canadian, if you're any other country's citizen and you're trying to vote in an American election, that's a crime. For them to even talk about this in the court should be a crime itself. It's despicable that we're wasting taxpayer dollars discussing BS like this. No, illegal immigrants should not be able to vote in U.S. elections. I don't understand how this is a conversation. And again, constantly I find myself in the situation of I'm saying things, and as I'm saying them, I'm thinking to myself, why am I even saying this? This is just a common sense thing that I feel like the vast majority of Americans or anyone with a lick of common sense would just feel that way. So it's when I'm saying these things, that's exactly how I feel. I'm thinking to myself, like, how is this even a discussion? Why don't the vast majority of Americans feel this way? And if they do, why are we even discussing this and wasting taxpayer dollars to vote on this and have a judge do whatever with it? It's ridiculous. It's, like I said, a waste of our taxpayer dollars. It's something that completely infuriates me that it's even a topic we discuss. Illegal immigrants should not be able to vote in an American election. I don't understand why that's controversial at all, or why that's even it just does not make sense to me. It's just liberal BS again. So I want to move on to our next topic because I could talk about that one forever, and I'm sure there will be updates on that in the future. But I want to pop up this video of Peter Hegseth talking about Ukraine and NATO and why Ukraine will not be joining NATO, which is something I completely support, and I'll tell you guys right after.
The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5. There also must be robust international oversight of the line of contact. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine.
First of all, I'm very glad that no U.S. troops will be deployed to Ukraine. I think it would be a huge mistake for us to send boots on the ground, American soldiers, to Ukraine. I don't think that's a war that should be fought. I think it's a war that would have been completely avoided if Donald Trump was in office when it was trying to happen. Like I've talked about in previous episodes, Putin threatened to take Ukraine during President Trump's presidency in the past, and Trump immediately threatened his pipeline, and he didn't do it. He respected Donald Trump's power in negotiating, and he didn't take Ukraine. And then once Biden was in office, once Kamala went over there and messed it all up, immediately he invades Ukraine. And one of the now deadliest wars we've seen in a very, very long time. Which it's very sad. I pray for all the lost lives. It's really just young men losing their lives in these wars. The soldiers, they're 18 to 22-year-old men. They're children, basically. It's very sad to see. But I don't think they should be a part of. I don't think Ukraine should be a part of NATO either. I completely agree with them. Because why piss off Russia? Why piss off Russia for Ukraine? Russia does not want Ukraine to be a part of NATO, and that's one thing we've agreed on with them, because they don't, think about it like this. Would we allow North Korea to have a settlement right at the border of the United States and Canada? Would we allow them to have one on the border of U.S. and Mexico? No. So why would Russia allow Ukraine, who would be a part of NATO? If we let them join NATO, why would they allow that? If you're a superpower in the world, you don't allow a threat to be right on your border within striking distance. It does not make sense from a military, strategic, or any standpoint at all for the safety of your citizens and the safety of your government. The same way the United States would not allow North Korea or any of these countries that we're not fully great with to set up a, whatever you want to call it, or to invade Canada, to invade Mexico, to try and be in a position where they would be not in America, but close enough where they're within striking distance and right on our borders. It would never in a million years happen. It would be something we'd immediately stop and we would go to war against, the same way Putin has. So I don't think that Ukraine should be a part of NATO. I think that I also have my own beliefs on Ukraine on how corrupt they've gotten. Zelensky has literally canceled elections under the Wartime Act or whatever they call it over there, but basically saying since they're in war that they shouldn't hold presidential elections, which I think is extremely corrupt. I don't agree with a lot of things Zelensky says and does, and the whole situation in general. As I've talked about in previous episodes and showed a video from Zelensky's mouth, $75 billion out of the $200 billion we've sent to Ukraine is what they've received. So $125 billion, they still have not, it's not they still haven't received like they're going to receive it. It's just been laundered and stolen by different bureaucrats and government officials and agencies and whoever. It's just completely corrupt. I think the entire situation with Ukraine and Russia is, I pray it comes to an end soon. I pray Donald Trump's able to close that. But I really think that it's a huge problem in the world when you have people trying to push for Ukraine to be a part of NATO, when all it would do is start World War III. If Ukraine joined NATO, immediately Vladimir Putin would declare war on us, on everyone, because we would be allowing one of his basically threats to be right on his border, right at his front door, waiting and within a striking distance. It would not be okay for Russia, and it would not be okay for the safety of the world. So I completely agree with everything Peter says in this video, that Ukraine should not join Ukraine should not join NATO, that we shouldn't be putting boots on the ground. I really think that he has made a smart decision for the American people, and I really think that, like I said, I really hope they're able to get this war taken care of. I think it would benefit the world as a whole. I don't have much more for you guys today, so I'm going to sign off for today. This has been episode 23 of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides. I hope you all have a blessed day. Thank you.